All right. Can you guys hear me? All right. Okay. Welcome, friends. I've been wanting to do this a long time. And I actually originally wanted to do this throughout the month of May, but things got away from me. We went to Destin, and I just didn't get to it. But I really want to every Monday in June do a video describing, just from my standpoint, my heart, of marriage and what godly marriage looks like. And some of you may be thinking, well, Dave, you're not really the poster child for being a stand-up, perfect, flawless, godly husband. And you are absolutely right. I have made a lot of mistakes in the 10 years that I've been married. There's a lot of things that if they were done to me, I would really, really be hurt by. And, all I can say is that I'm an imperfect person trying to share wisdom and share my heart and the things that I've done, so that you don't fall into the same temptations and traps that I've succumbed to. And to anyone watching this, Aaron, honey, I love you, and I'll be the first to admit I've made plenty of mistakes in our marriage, and I've learned from them, and I want to continue to put my best foot forward and set a good example for our children and for the people around me. So with that in mind, every week of this month we're going to be diving in. Okay, we're going to be talking about every week of this month. We're going to be diving in. We're going to be talking about money. We're going to be talking about sex, friendship, companionship, resiliency. All these things we're going to be talking about. And I'm not going to beat around the bush either. Y'all have known me enough by now to know that when I talk about a subject, I talk about it candidly. Okay, and I believe that's how it should be. So just hang tight, hold on, strap in, because the next few Mondays are going to be tough sledding. Okay, it's going to be a bumpy ride, but just hold on and you'll get the great truths of God in your heart. Now, before I even start, I want to just point out something that I feel is relevant. There is another thing in the month of June that is kind of sort of celebrated. I don't know. If you weren't out looking for it, you wouldn't really know that it was going on. I mean, it's kind of tucked away. It's not really in your face. But in the month of June, there's something else that is celebrated. And I just want to, from the start, say that for those of you who know me, know that this is a Christian channel. I talk about things with a Christian worldview, and the Bible does not support any sort of marriage other than one man and one woman. So if that offends you, or you say, Dave, you're not talking, what about all these people, what do you have to say about me, who I'm married to, someone of the same gender? I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be brash, but that is this message is not for you. I'm not trying to be unkind, but that's what it is. Okay, so week one. Week one, I want to start off each week with just a Bible verse, and I hate I really hate, I think people just try to drive the loudest vehicles, whenever I'm doing a video. I really didn't want to use this verse because it is just so overused when people do marriage sermons. But, we'll say that it's overused for a reason. It's old but gold, okay? Old but gold. So, here we go. Ephesians 5:21, verse 30. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy by cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In this same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated their own body, but they feed and take care for their body, just as Christ does the church, for we are members of his body. Okay, so week 1, we're going to be talking about emotional connection, okay? Now, I know that for men, this is probably your least favorite item that we could be talking about. But let's just call a spade, okay? Emotional connection is the foundation on which every relationship is laid. Every friendship, every spouse, romantic, boyfriend, girlfriend, every sort of relationship is built on the foundation of emotional connection. Without emotional connection, you are just a shell of a marriage, okay? Without emotional connection, you're gilded, okay? This ring is pure gold, okay? If it were gilded, it would be like steel or nickel, and it would just have a very, very thin gold coating, and if I barely scratched it, some of that gold would chip off, and you would see that it's not authentic. It's not gold. It's just a regular piece of metal that someone just put a very razor thin coat of gold on it, but on the inside, it's nothing. It's just worthless. Okay, that's what emotional connection is. It is the foundation on which your marriage or any relationship is laid. Without emotional connection, you are just a gilded ring. Okay, now in 2010, I had I had just graduated high school earlier that year, and all of my friends went off to college. You know, SFA in Nacogdoches, Texas Tech up north, UT, College Station, A&M, you know, all of it. The only person that I knew about was my good friend, Erin McDaniel, and she was the only one that stayed, right? And so, knowing that all my friends had basically just, you know, left the nest, the only person for me to hang out with was Erin. And I mean, it was fine. I mean, I enjoyed hanging out with Erin. At that time, I didn't really know her too well. I mean, she was a friend, but she wasn't like my closest friend. But after all of my friends moved away, me and her started hanging out more. We started, I remember one time I said, hey, I got to get this textbook, but they're out at the college bookstore, and if I buy it online, it's like $300. Do you want to go to Half Price Books and see if I'll have any luck there? So I'd swing by her house and I would pick her up, and we're going through Half Price Books, and we're just having fun and enjoying each other. And I didn't know it right then, but that was something that was a paradigm shift for me, because I never ever thought that I would date Erin or even have feelings for Erin. But as we were hanging out, I started to develop I can't even talk today. I started to develop romantic feelings for Erin, which was just absolutely crazy for me, because she would have been the last person that I would have guessed that I'd start liking. Okay? And let's just less. Okay? But getting back on point, I never wanted to like Erin. I never wanted to like Erin, and if I'm honest with you, I couldn't see myself. When I first met Erin, I couldn't see myself with her. But as we were hanging out, and we would go to Half Price Books and run errands together, she laughed at all my jokes. She made me feel welcome. She never ever judged me, because I'm squirrely. I mean, anybody that knows me knows in the real world, I'm about as weird as they come. Okay? But she always laughed. She was attentive. And one thing that really drew me to her was the fact that no matter where we were or what we had going on, she was available. She made her, she was busy. She didn't feel like it. But I said, no, come on. She would, without missing a beat, she'd put her clothes on and say, hey, okay, let's go, let's do it. And when I say I never imagined liking Erin, part of that as well was the fact that I told her things that I haven't told my mom about. Okay, so I was in a predicament. On the one hand, like I can't like her because she doesn't check all the boxes physically, right? But on the other hand, I can't date her because she knows so much about me that it would just be weird. It would be like falling in love with your sister. I mean, she just knows me too well. It would just be weird. But as we started hanging out, and as we started spending more time together, and talking and connecting, it was just inevitable that that the feelings started to grow. And the more and more I tried to ignore them, the more and more intense they got. And eventually it got to a point where I couldn't shake them. I knew that I was starting to like this girl, big time. So I had a decision to make. Lucky for me, I told her how I felt, and the rest is history. Now we have a beautiful home with the white picket fence, 2 beautiful boys, and my life has never been better. okay? But that all started because of emotional connection, okay? Now, one of my police instructors, when I was still in the academy, he was like a super duper, 5th degree black belt, Krav Maga, Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, he was like, he was the man as far as like American Ninja Warrior, okay? And so he told me in one of our defensive tactics, he said, Dave, I'm a big believer in where the head goes, the body will follow. And I didn't realize it at the time. And what he means was, if you can control their head, if I want to, well, you can't see it. There's a tree next to me. Maybe, oh, here it is, right here. If I wanted to, push someone up against that tree, get control of their head, and then push it up against this tree, where the head goes, the body will follow, okay? I didn't catch it at the time, but do you realize that that also is can be applied to what we're talking about? Where the head goes, the body will follow. Okay, now there's a really loud Power Wheels coming up, so I'm just gonna be quiet. Okay, where the head goes, the body will follow. I started to connect with Erin and really started spending time with her. I never intended on liking her or developing romantic feelings for her. But where the head goes, the body will follow, okay? And we're going to talk these next few weeks. We're going to talk about a lot of things, and we are going to dive deep into all aspects of marriage, safeguarding your marriage, and all of that. But let me just foreshadow something for you. Where the head goes, the body will follow. It's inevitable. Okay, it's dare I say, scientific. Okay, where your head goes, your body will follow. That is why you never, ever, ever develop an emotional connection with someone outside of your husband or your wife. Just don't allow it to happen. You can be kind, you can be respectful, and I'm not saying you don't have friends at work, friends at the gym, whatever, but do not cross that line into getting an emotional connection with someone of the opposite sex, because where the head goes, the body will follow. I don't want to say too much right now, but just understand that is so important. If you don't hear anything else that I'm going to say these next 5 weeks, please take that and run with it. Where the head goes, the body will follow. But it also works the same way inside your marriage, okay? Husbands, I will tell you right now, if you want more physical intimacy, the surefire way to make sure that happens is to make emotional connection a priority. There is absolutely no better way to get your wife in the mood than to make sure that she feels connected to you. It is absolutely critical. Women cannot be ready to climb in bed with you if they don't feel connected to you first. It's the bottom line. It's just, you may not like that reality. You may say, well, Dave, I'm telling you, women require emotional connection before physical intimacy. Period. End of story. Well, you say, Dave, I have all these obstacles to emotional connection. Okay. Now, I hate writing notes because I'd rather just talk candidly and just, not talk from a script. But there are a few things that I've written down because I do not want to miss these. So, emotional connection. First thing, it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. You have to be proactive and make it a priority. Okay? And if you don't make it a priority, it's not going to happen. Okay? Especially if you have kids. Okay? If you have small kids in the home, you can forget about just winding up on the couch and talking about your day. Not going to happen. Okay? These little jerks, they will suck every sort of energy right outside of you, and they do it standing on their head. It's like they've been trained on how to just make you tired all the freaking time. Okay? So you have to carve out time. Okay? Now, another thing too is, well, Dave, in the beginning, our relationship, our marriage, we were just so in love. We just couldn't keep our hands off of each other, and we would talk every day, and it was fun, I mean, we would go out all the time, and he understood me and I understood him, and it was fun, and it just seemed like we were finishing each other's sentences, and every time he texts me, my heart would beat a little bit fast, and I would have to text my girlfriend and say, hey, he just texted me this, what should I text back, and blah blah blah, and it was thrilling, it was exhilarating. Well, I'm sure it was. Okay, things that are new are exciting. Okay, but another thing that you need to know about emotional connection is there's a difference between falling in love and being in love. Okay? It may feel after 2 or 3 years of being married that things have gotten a little stale. Things have kind of plateaued. What was thrilling and exhilarating and, having someone, really be excited about seeing you and you seeing them, that kind of starts to wean and starts to kind of taper off. Okay? And that's completely normal. Okay? That's exactly how it should be. Okay? The sooner you understand that, the better off you're going to be. Because so many people think that something is wrong with them. Maybe we just don't love each other anymore. Maybe we're just not meant to be. I don't know. Okay? Or maybe it's just that the excitement, the thrill has gone away and you've adjusted to your new normal. That doesn't mean that something's wrong. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It doesn't mean that your relationship is somehow, not going to work. It simply means that you're no longer falling in love, you're in love. Okay? But I do believe that that thrill, that exhilaration of something new and experiencing something new with another person is critical. I believe that is something that really keeps a marriage on the up and up. And so if you want those feelings, they don't pay me to say this. I'm just saying this because this is what I found that works for us. Go on a cruise. Okay? Seriously, go on a cruise. Why do you think Aaron and I cruise? Well, I don't know if I can afford it right now because I got bills. Let me tell you something, folks. Travel is an investment in your marriage. Okay? When you understand this principle, it becomes a lot easier to spend money on travel. You're not just, buying a trip or buying a vacation just because work's been crazy. No. When the money that you pay for a vacation, it's an investment in your marriage. And I'll tell you right now, I don't care how rich you are, what financial goals you have. Well, I'm trying to save up to buy a second house because I want to start doing Airbnb. You know, I want to buy an investment property. Nothing in this world will have better returns than a solid investment in your marriage. Nothing in this world. And I'll tell you right now, I would rather drive crappy vehicles, have one house, and no IRA and all these things, but live in peace and harmony and happiness with my spouse more than any other thing. Seriously, I'd be willing to trade all the money in the world that I could ever make for assurance of happiness and stability and holy matrimony with my wife and I. Now, I'm looking at the time here, and I know I've got to shore this up because I still got a few things to talk about, but don't hold on, just bear with me because we're coming to a close. Just give me a few more minutes. Hang on, let me reset my camera here. All right, can everybody hear me still? Okay. All right, so we're talking about emotional connection. Okay. First thing about there's one little thing that I want to say. Y'all know that I'm a deputy, a sheriff's deputy in this where I live, and there's something that is specific to my line of work that I just want to touch on very briefly because I think it's relevant. First responders, firefighters, and police officers. It's getting better, okay? I don't know if you've seen my video on mental health. If you want, you can go check it out, but the culture is changing at the police department and nationwide, but there is still work to be done. Okay, and so having said all that, first responders, we're trained not to cry. Okay, we're trained to see the worst of the worst situations, dive headfirst into them, and be completely numb. There's actually a psychology term for it. It's called disassociation, meaning that we turn away and pretend they're not there. Okay? Because some people would say it's unprofessional. You're a man. Oh man, if that bothers you, then maybe you're not right for this career. I'll tell you right now, man, I'll tell you right now, this career isn't meant for everybody. Now, I don't care who you are. I don't care how tough you think you are, how tough you think you are, how big you think you are. If you get a call and you have to dive into the deep end of a pool and pull a 3-year-old out of the bottom of the pool, I don't care how big or tough you think you are. That sucks. And that is something that is very, very hard on you emotionally. Okay? And like I said, it's changing, it's getting better, but we still have a lot of people who really have the attitude that if you feel, we still have a lot of people that have the attitude that you're not right for this career if things affect you. You know? And it's bothersome that people think like that, but that's what the culture is still, kind of. And people and people like me, firefighters, police officers, deputies, we are trained to lock it up. You know, conceal, don't feel. You know, I don't mean to quote Frozen, but that's what people, that's what the culture was for a long, long time, and there are still some people that have that. Conceal, don't feel. Don't show your emotions. Don't even interact with your emotions. Just turn the other way, pretend they're not there, and if you can pretend that it's not affecting you, then that means that you're a man and you're tough and you're cut out to be in this job. The problem is that it's not something that you can just turn on and off. And police officers have been trained not to cry, trained not to have any sort of emotional response, despite it being a very sad, tense situation. And so what happens to the brain is that cord that, you know, here's the pipeline for emotions and feelings and all the things. You know, it's normally like this. That cord gets cut. And so when you really do need to have emotions, say your son graduates high school, or your 3-year-old says his first words, or whatever it might be, where most people would probably cry happy tears or look at their spouse and say, "That's our little boy." Police officers, we don't feel that. And so that brings up another question, okay? How can you, if you don't feel emotions, how can you as a first responder have an emotional connection with your spouse? One option may be to just fake it till you make it, just pretend. But it's one thing that I know, especially with women know when men aren't being sincere. I mean, they know. I mean, I think men know when women aren't being sincere, but women have an uncanny ability to really see if you're being genuine or if you're just putting on a show. So you don't really want to just fake it till you make it, okay? Another thing is you could just be forthcoming to just say, you know what, this is how it is. This is how I am. This job has completely just changed me. I can look at a dead body and it don't even affect me anymore. And I've seen so many things that people shouldn't see in their lifetime, and I don't have any emotions, and that's just the way it's going to be. Okay? That's one option. But I think the best thing to do is, just like over time that cord has been cut, the brain is a very complex organ, and the brain can rewire itself. Okay? And I think about like people that, you know, opiate addiction, you know, fentanyl, heroin, okay? Those connections have been made in the brain. And that's why when someone stops using, they can have seizures, they can have, you know, they can feel physically sick, they can, you know, feel very depressed and hurt and upset. It's because their brain is wired to get that extreme amount of endorphins, you know, dopamine and oxytocin and all those things that make you feel high, make you feel good. And when that is taken away, your brain, it just goes haywire. But eventually, after you stop using, there is going to be a period of where it's going to be really tough for a while. But eventually, someone coming off of opiates, the brain begins to rewire itself. And you can recover, okay? The brain can heal itself. And those connections where people say, well, I can't feel good. I can't feel oxytocin. I can't feel the good feelings that I used to feel without opiates, okay? Maybe not right now, but the more and more, the longer and longer it is that you get off of opiates, the more and more the brain heals itself. It's the same thing with emotions, okay? You may have had that cord completely cut, but I imagine it probably didn't just happen one day. One day you woke up and said, you know what, I'm a police officer now. I don't need any emotions. I can't have emotions on the job. Just throw your emotions away and just, toss them to the wind. No, you went on one bad call where you saw something that was, really unfortunate, and you had an emotional response, and then the next one, you said, no, I'm not going there. I don't need to cry. I don't need to, and then you went on another one, and then another one, and then another one, okay? And over time, that cord, you cut it, but you can fuse it back together, okay? I am working on that process right now. Has it happened 100%? No. Can I guarantee that it will get back to where it was before? I can't guarantee anything in this world, okay? But if you feel emotions, press in. Don't turn away like you're so used to doing. If something is tugging at your heartstring, good, bad, or the ugly, press in. Get out of that habit of turning away from your emotions. Press in. Well, Dave, even if I'm at work in the police car? Yes, even if you're at work. Anytime you feel sad, you feel happy, you feel any sort of emotion, press in. Eventually, those connections will begin to fuse back together, and you can recover your brain from years and years of damage, okay? And then you can start to have an emotional connection with your spouse again. You don't have to be, you don't have to just you don't have to maintain the status quo. You can make a choice to change. So that's my 2 cents for first responders. You can take that for what it is. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Husbands, wives, you need to be connecting with your spouse for 1 hour each week. And that is really the bare bones minimum standard that is acceptable. Ideally, it should be like 4 to 6 hours. But we all have busy lives. I just heard some sort of statistic the other day. On average, the American family gets 38 minutes of quality time in this day and age. 38 minutes a day with their families is the average of what the American household gets, okay? So 4 to 6 hours is probably not even in anybody's ballpark. But if you spent 30 minutes twice a week, every week, with no phones, making eye contact, and just talking, I guarantee you, your emotional connection will improve. It'll improve, okay? So let's look at some of the obstacles. Or people say, well, Dave, I can't talk to my wife because of blah, 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 blah. We're gonna get into some of those, okay? But how do you do it? Emotional talking, okay? It builds connection, okay? But it's got to be done properly, okay? And what do I mean by that? Well, Wives, as much as humanly possible, try not to cry. Okay? This is something that I've dealt with in my own marriage. It's, you know, I don't mean to speak ill of anybody, but it seems like it often happens that that women oftentimes they cry. Ladies, when you're talking with your spouse, when y'all are connecting, do your best to shore that up, okay, as best as possible. Husbands, now I'm going to talk on the other side. Oh, wait a minute, now it's their turn. Yep, yes, sure is their turn. No one's immune. I'm an equal opportunist. Husbands, y'all need to shore up your anger. I see a lot of husbands out in the world, at the mall, at the grocery store, or whatever, and even people in my inner circle, unfortunately. Y'all need to really learn how to be respectful, okay? Your spouse is supposed to be the person that you'd give up your life for. And I hear, unfortunately, I hear husbands talking to their wives in a way that I wouldn't talk to a stranger, okay? Y'all need to limit the outburst, limit the tempers, you know, quit losing your temper. Just talk, okay? You know, y'all both need, husbands and wives need to be creating a space where you're providing a space where your spouse will want to share their heart and come to you and connect with you. So, not in the car, okay? Eye contact is so key here, okay? On purpose, I have done my absolute best to be looking at this camera, because if I'm just looking over here, you're like, what is so interesting about over there, okay? Eye contact, when you're trying to emotionally connect through talking, eye contact is so important. So not in the car, not with phones, and that's good. Okay, so you ask open-ended questions. Now, let's look at some of the barriers to emotional connection. Past hurts, okay? Well, I can't talk to my wife. I can't talk to my wife because I'm on guard. I've been hurt and I've really been wounded, and I don't ever want to allow myself to open up and show the inner workings of my heart, because if I ever did, then someone may hurt me, and I just cannot experience that kind of hurt again. It's just too painful, okay? Going through life always on guard, it's not healthy for your marriage. Not only is it not healthy for your marriage, it's not healthy for you, okay? But so many people these days are brash, rude, mean, and people think, wow, that person's really got an attitude problem. That person's just rude. Well, maybe they are, but maybe they're so rude and so mean because they have this idea that I'm never, ever letting anyone close to me, because if I ever did, then I will never, ever recover from that hurt, so I am going to get them before they have an opportunity to get me. I'm going to be so brash and so mean and so rude because I don't ever want anyone to even feel that they'd want to approach me or get close to me, because if I did and they did get close, I don't know if I could ever bounce back from that kind of hurt. Okay? If that's your issue, I would seriously recommend getting some professional counseling, okay? You obviously have been through some trauma. You've obviously experienced an extreme amount of hurt, and you obviously need some help. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with saying that, hey, I've been hurt, I need some help. Nothing wrong with saying that, okay? But it's no good strategy for you to just go through life and pretend that that's not what you're feeling, because it's not healthy for you. You can't go through life like that, okay? Another barrier, okay, the crazy cycle. Anyone who has been married has experienced the crazy cycle. You just don't know that you have, okay? What is the crazy cycle? The crazy cycle is when y'all go through a season or a couple of days where y'all are just fighting. There's words that are exchanged, and now she is acting in a way that's unloving, and that is disrespectful, and he's acting in a way that's unloving. Okay? So, oh, no, I'm not going to take out the trash. She can take out her own trash. If she's going to act like that and be so rude to me and embarrass me in front of all my friends, well, if he's not going to take out the trash, then he ain't getting any of this. Okay? I know that he really wants to. He was already trying to touch my shoulder when we was in the bed together this morning, and I just moved away because I ain't gonna get with him. Oh, heck no, he ain't gonna get any of this. The way he's been acting the past few days, and so she's acting disrespectful. She's acting unloving, and it's just this revolving door. And there are two types of people in this world, okay? Those who have experienced that and those who are liars, okay? You've either experienced that or you're lying, okay? We've all experienced that at some point in our marriage. But you know the easiest way to get out of that rut? You know, it's to be humble. It's to be humble. Don't wait for your spouse to come to you and make amends. No, you make amends. You acknowledge wrong, you say that you are sorry, and you agree to do better next time. Okay? But really if you're going to do it, really be sincere. Okay? Really be sincere. And when you do that, I can't say what the other person will do. They may still be cold and have the cold shoulder, okay? But you don't do something, you don't apologize and try to make amends to get something in return. You do it because you legitimately want to be in fellowship with that person again, okay? I'm not saying every time, but I can tell you in my own marriage, most of the time when I do that, Erin puts her arms around me and says, you know what, I'm sorry for the things that I did too. And we make amends. And then we can get back on course to building our emotional connection. Okay, so the crazy cycle. Another thing is, Dave, I hear what you're saying about talking twice a week for an hour, but we can't talk without fighting. Okay. I've been there. We've all been there. Okay, but I don't think I mean like we can't talk without fighting as far as like, you know, people that go through just, you know, a day where y'all are just kind of bickering. I mean, I'm talking about people that literally really are just kind of roommates at this point because they refuse to talk to each other because they literally cannot talk to each other without fighting. If that's your situation, you could go to counseling. I obviously recommend that. But also, if you can't talk without fighting, stay away from hot button issues. Talk about the weather. Talk about that movie that y'all last saw, or anything, I mean literally anything, talking about things that don't matter is still better than not talking at all, okay? And sometimes talking about things helps break the ice to where y'all get used to talking about the things that don't really matter. And then once you have mastered that, then you can kind of steer the conversation into the meat and potatoes of things that really need to be ironed out. Okay, but you don't just automatically swing for the fence. If y'all can't talk without fighting, that's not the time to bring up, the thing that, is a real big issue in your relationship. Talk about anything. Once you get that down, then that opens you up to be in a better position to talk about, other things. And then I see the clock here. I'm closing out. Time. Dave, I hear what you're saying, and none of the things that you've talked about as far as why I can't connect with my wife, those aren't relevant to me. But what is relevant is I just simply don't have time. I work 75 hours a week at my job. I'm the sole breadwinner. My wife stays home with the babies, and by the time I get home, she's ready for a nap and a shower, and we basically I come home and I kiss my wife, and then we both go straight to bed, and that's just the season of life that we're in right now. Okay, I hear you, and I've been there as well. Okay, but let me just say this just plainly and clearly so everybody can hear me. Time is your most valuable asset. Okay? People say time is money. Okay? Time is your most valuable asset because you can always make money. If you have $5 and you spend it, tomorrow you can go to work and you can remake those $5. It will return to you. But time is something you will never ever get back. Even this very moment, you will never ever ever be able to get that back. Jesus said it plainly, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Where you're spending your money is a sure sign of what's important to you. Where you're spending your time is a sure sign of what's important to you. If you have any threads of love and desire to make your marriage the best that it can be, you will find time to connect with your spouse. You will. Okay? Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. If your heart has any threads of desire to make your marriage work, you're going to find time to establish an emotional connection with your spouse. All right, that's all I have for today. Sorry it went a little bit over, but this is, like I said, this is something that I really have a heart for. This is something I really have a burden for, and I hope you'll stick with me because this is just the tip of the iceberg of things that we're going to dive into in the whole month of June. Father, thank you for everyone watching and listening right now, Lord. I pray, Lord, that if anyone is married or maybe about to be married, Lord, that I've been able to speak the words that you've wanted me to hear, and that it falls on good ground, Lord. And I just pray that if there's anyone out there, just even one person who has been blessed by my words, Lord, I pray, Lord, that that would be the case, Lord, because that's why I make these videos, is to be a blessing into to those people, anyone who would listen. Lord, I thank you for everybody watching and listening. Lord, I pray that you would watch over them, give them your peace, and show them blessing after blessing, just as you've done in my life. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.